Right. Today I want to start the episode off talking about a feeling that I've felt a lot recently, and many of my friends have as well. It's the feeling you get when you see a job application, grad scheme, grad job, or just any internship really. And you fall in love with the idea. You fall in love with where you could be, how much money you'll be making, what work you'll be doing, and then days or weeks later, you get that crushing email. Unfortunately, ... I think we all know the rest. And I'm here with you today, Brad, and I want to know about your background in recruitment and your career. What are the best skills and characteristics that a prospective employee can develop for potential employers to better the chances, really, bridge the gap?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, what we should mention is, it sounds a little cliche, but rejection isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
What I always say to people I talk to, especially this generation and the generation coming up, is you almost need that rejection email initially. I have a friend who's the marketing manager at Monster Energy at the moment, and he got rejected by his first 18 graduate programs that he went for.
Yeah.
He then realized he had to tailor it. But those rejections, he learned so much along that way that when it came to it, he understood exactly what he was looking for. So first and foremost, I would always say that rejection is a strong thing, because you can take that through life.
Yeah.
Whether you go into business, into sales, into whatever market that you go into in whatever sector, that you will get rejection at some point throughout your career. And if that's the first time you get it, say at the age of 25, and you've been in a working place for 2 years, it's going to be a lot harder to take than taking it once you're going for these graduate schemes or placements or just an entry-level role in general. So I would say enjoy the rejection, learn from the rejection. But then the characteristics that have to come with that is it's showing that personality now. So you've got all of AI. Yeah. When applications go through to majorities of companies now, when I speak to them, we have a software tool.
Yeah.
The software tool marks the application, the portfolio, the CV, however you apply for the role. And if the software picks up on something it's not too keen on, it's pulled to the side, and that's that. I don't necessarily agree with that system, actually, because I think the software, it can change by just one word.
Yeah.
It's quite, even though it's sophisticated, I think we do miss talent across the UK from using that system. I understand you can get thousands of applications, but that's going to be here to stay for the time being when I speak to these companies. So what I'd say is you've got to try and counteract the AI in the software. So when we have applications, and to try and get away from that being a rejection, yes, use your AI if you want to tailor and a structure to an application, but then make sure you tailor it and you highlight your personality throughout that application. It's key now to show experience. One thing that I discuss on a daily basis is experiences whilst you're either in the working world. I've dealt with all age ranges.
Yeah.
But obviously now that your sort of generation, it's key to show that whilst you're at a university, for example, employers know that you're academic.
Yeah.
They can see the degree. And I'm not trying to play that down. It is important, of course, but it's to show you what you're doing around it, whether that's within the curriculum or outside of the curriculum. You've got to get that across and relate it to the job spec you're looking at. So there might be some experiences where you think, actually, it doesn't fit this type of job, but I'm going to go for this other one as well, and I can put it in that. Don't put everything down. You have to tailor it to every application you go for. What I would say is, I call it strike rate. You will just get automatic rejections if you just have a strike rate of applying for everything.
Yeah.
If that happens, you'll rinse and repeat it. You won't learn anything because you're getting bored of it, and you'll just get automatic rejections. You have to learn from it and see how you need to tailor depending on the industry and the employer. So that would be my key message.
It's quality over quantity.
It's definitely quality over quantity. It's getting that personality, because so many people are using AI that actually you could be the difference.
Yeah.
You could shine through that application, and they can see that you've actually done work on it, and it's not just been structured. I see a lot of structured AI applications.
Yeah.
To the point, just what was it, 6 months ago?
Yeah.
We put them down. So we had a business graduate that had just been hired, and we had an AI CV for a business graduate. We put them down and we tested everyone in that room. We didn't say anything about the CVs. We left them to test out how they went down, and people went for the real one.
Yeah.
even though there wasn't loads of difference. But trust me, humans will notice those things. And that's the key. I would say get that personality across.
So the best advice really to people in my shoes, people looking at those applications that we're getting rejected left, right, and center is stay true to yourself.
Yep.
Be human. Let's try and avoid using artificial intelligence because we'll miss out on the learnings of doing it ourselves.
Yeah, and look, I don't say stay away from AI. We promote it.
Yeah.
So I'd be hypocritical if I said don't use it. But what I would say is use it and yourself and find a balance.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to use it for the structure and then you tailor your CV and your application, that's what will get through.
Yeah.
And employers know this; they're recognising it. Whether that's I'm working with a regional employer or a national or global employer.
Yeah.
That is the key message that's coming through, and it's about the skills. So they're talking about the skills gap, which we all know that gets mentioned in every sort of news article that you see probably since COVID.
Yeah.
So if they're seeing that personality experience and that skill, and that's your sort of trio, I always say that's your three-pronged attack.
Yeah.
If you follow that, yes, I still think you'll probably get a rejection somewhere down the line. You're not going to get accepted by everyone.
Yeah.
That's just not how the world works. But you'll probably heighten your chances of being rejected less from the off.
I think from what I can take from that is that if we use AI balanced, use it as part of it, but not all of it, and try and ensure that the learning is that we learn from the process, not the machine. And we can use the machine AI to help us with the process, but every rejection, if it's going to be, a positive rejection, we have to take a learning from it, and we have to tailor our CVs and our experiences directly to the company. And is that kind of equal across all companies, or do bigger companies just want to see more results, or the smaller companies come up with personality, or is it?
It's an interesting one. There has definitely been a shift on that.
Yeah.
When I deal with the larger organizations now, the big brands that everyone will know, you tend to find their now messages, yes, we still get thousands of applications. And it does go through a software, but we know those people once we get them in an assessment center, or we get to that first interview. And they recognize as well that they sometimes get tricked because of the software system.
Yeah.
They happily admit that, hang on, we interviewed so-and-so in their first interview and it was nothing like the CV we got, because they've not seen the CV from the off.
Yeah.
So I actually think it's a UK problem nationally in terms of how to get around that. I don't think there's an easy solution to that. And you have these companies, like I said, ironically using AI to test AI to try catch it out, which I find hilarious. Because of the numbers, there's no real solution at the moment. Regionally, it's a little easier. Not necessarily smaller companies, smaller to medium.
Yeah.
Because they tend to have a designated team to go through applications and CVs. We're noticing a drip feed effect from national companies, and that kind of, we don't look just for the degree, we look at the skills and the experience and what comes with it, and what that person has done during their time, whether it's at university or actually just in real life. Like I said, I put people in management positions when I manage a recruitment company. So you have people from all age ranges that have just decided to leave a career they might have done for 20 years.
Yeah.
They have to tailor to something they want to do and completely different. And we saw that after COVID. When I worked in recruitment, the management recruitment company, it was COVID times at the time. And you had a real shift. People decided to leave their jobs and look to do new things, new interests. And it's interesting. I always see that with the level of fear in them.
Yeah.
Ironically, I see the level of fear in when I speak to a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old or 21. Because that generation, you guys tend to think it's just you.
Yeah. So isolating.
Yeah, when it's really, really not. It is across the board. So for me, it is dripping into regional now, especially the public sector. We notice it. So for me, I think it's actually having a really good knock-on effect. It's just now trying to find a way around that kind of application process in terms of AI mainly.
Yeah, I think the things you said there really make at least me feel more positive, and I'm sure people my age going through the same situation.
I'll try.
Will feel better. But I do think that the process, and even with us turning rejection into a positive thing, it can be very draining. It can really suck the soul out of you and almost lead to a bit of burnout. And I really want to know how you approach burnout. How do you avoid a burnout? Give me an example of when it's been really bad.
Yeah. I think the best thing to say initially is I haven't avoided burnout.
Yeah.
Whoever's avoiding burnout, I salute you.
Yeah.
I'd probably say the burnout for me initially started from what I class as naivety.
Yeah.
So before what I do now, I worked in sort of the events industry, PR, marketing, social media, and we ran events for years. I had this habit of trying to please everyone.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to be everyone's friend and say yes to everything. I was young myself. He was in charge of people.
Yeah.
That ironically not much younger than you.
Yeah.
And you were almost that leadership figure.
Yeah.
And when we ran the events, I could probably leave that event if I wanted to, but I felt the need to almost not pressured is probably I put the pressure on myself actually probably is to please them. Okay, the staff are still around. What can we do for them? Let's put on drinks. What can we do to keep them happy?
Yeah.
But then you get sucked into staying, and before you know it, another 2 hours have gone by. But you're the one that has to get up at maybe 8 a.m.
Yeah.
When the staff at that time might be students, for example. They might not have a lecture till the
up.
afternoon. A lot better now. Students are really good at it. Different in my day, but they're a lot better now. But that's where I started to get my initial burnout.
Yeah.
And I was quite lucky actually, because I only noticed I started to have this burnout later in life, which was it was kind of weird for me to notice it. I look back on it and I noticed it now, but I didn't notice it while I was in it so much. I started to get tonsillitis like once a month, but using that cycle of it, so it continued. And I worked with some really, really great people. But I look back now and I kind of go, yeah, that was my burnout phase, but I didn't recognize it because I was 21. I was still quite naive.
Yeah.
And when I speak to students now, and sometimes there's negative connotations around naivety, I actually think sometimes it's a real positive, because now years have gone by, I can look back on that naivety, and burnout's a perfect example of where I've learned from naivety on, right, okay, so I'm not going to be everyone's friend now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say yes to everything. Of course, you work in teams and you have to support. The last 3 months has been really, really busy for me. And I will try and do my best to say yes to where I can and support everyone.
Yeah.
But there's got to be times where you go, no, I can't do this right now. I've got to do this for me. Or I can do this, but it's going to have to be in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Can we change the deadline? An interesting one. So I had Danny from Affirmative Media doing a session with me a few weeks ago, and he got asked about burnout. And he said the lesson he learned was he had to be more forthright and not almost be grateful for the work or the projects that were coming in. It was, we're doing this. Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
You've asked for a 48-hour turnaround. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's a skill in itself. At that time, I was like, yeah, I'll be everyone's friend. Let's do this. Let's have fun. I would never change it because of Lost Village, for example. My boss at the time, Ben Atkins, who I'm still friends with now, and we've done stuff together over the years. He had such an amazing mentality, and that work rate was there, and I think you get it from that.
Yeah.
And I actually feel really lucky with the people I kind of was involved with throughout my time. I think Lincoln has weirdly produced this almost like core group of people in the last 10 years that have gone on to do amazing things. Whether that's Ben with Lost Village Festival or Dummy with Affirmative Media, who's a friend of mine, and I watched him, and even now.
And you.
Well, thank you. But he pains me when I see a 6 a.m. Instagram and he's running up a hill. But I love it. It's amazing, and I try to relate to those people I can. And I feel actually really lucky to almost been around them at that time.
Yeah.
And I've watched that change. Even Peter Watson now, who's in Dubai, these are the people you're around, and they won't know they influenced me.
Yeah.
Because we just grew up together and we did stuff together. So they won't recognize that. But they've almost learnt me how to handle burnout, how to work, change that mentality sometimes. So I actually owe a lot to those type of people that I was surrounded by. What I would say with sort of bringing it into more of a corporate aspect of burnout, flexible working is great.
Yeah.
And I don't think it will change. I think there'll be less flexible working. I think there is a shift. I think you'll be more in the office than you were before, and I think it will go back that way. But I think it also has a negative, dangerous effect on burnout.
Yeah.
So what people tend to do with burnout, when they're feeling it and feeling stressed, they go within themselves.
Yeah.
The perfect way to hide is flexible working.
Yeah.
So they go within themselves and they remote work, and they actually spend probably maybe 2 or 3 days doing that remote working, not productive enough.
No.
Obviously, that's not a blanket cover for everyone.
No.
But you have that where they go within themselves and they can sit on the sofa for an extra 10 minutes, or they have that opportunity. I try and avoid that. The reason when I feel a bit burnt out, and I felt it in the last 3 months, not badly, but I could recognize there was an element of it coming through. I don't change my habits, necessarily my working habits. So people will change their habits for a few days and do something different, thinking that's going to solve it, by sometimes actually not doing much at all. You just sitting on a sofa at home won't solve burnout because it's up here.
Yeah.
You can watch Netflix all day long. It's not going to do
Not
it.
the answer.
Yeah. What I do is I keep to my routine. I'll go and grab a coffee. I'll come into the office. If it means I sometimes I'll just go sit on my own.
Yeah.
And I'll just crack on with some work, but I'll do it on my own. And it takes sometimes that social aspect of it where I don't want to be pulled left, right, and centre, and I'm doing that. But actually, being around people in general that just walking through, the morning, how are you? It's transactional.
Yeah.
No more than that. There's not a long conversation. But it slowly takes you out of that burnout because you're still having that social interaction, but you're not doing it for a purpose or for a reason. The other element of burnout is don't fear a shift. Whether that's, like I said, with Ben, Lost Village, I used to obviously work in events, but I used to help them with the recruitment. I will go stand in the woods at Lost Village Festival.
Yeah.
And he won't know that, but that time to me gives me a little bit of a break from what I do.
Yeah.
And I switch off from it. Or our football team, our charity football team, that gives me the opportunity to, even though it's for a great cause, there is a selfish aspect to it. It gives me a chance to switch off and do something else. People get into routine of thinking, because they're going through burnout, they just need to finish that project. They just need to get it done. And they speed it up, and actually the work deteriorates and they deteriorate. So it's sometimes just taking a few days to do something else if necessary, or come into the office and have a few days. There's no harm in you saying, I'm just going to go work on my own for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do this. Or, I'll come have a catch up and we'll grab a coffee at lunch. It's those elements of burnout rather than thinking, right, oh my God, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit in my flat or sit in my house and I'm just going to work from here with a laptop. I actively try and avoid that. And that's why I am quite keen on flexible working, staying in, but not being as remote as it still is.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I've taken from you there is that I know you've probably seen on social media and just these quotes saying you're the sum of your 5 closest people. Yeah. At the start, you described there those 4 or 5 closest people, which not only affected you positively, but with something like burnout, something really negative, something really isolating, having those people close to you really, really helped you without even knowing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And look, I'm friends with these people, and I've been closer with them, and I've had time away from them. But they're people that I've been surrounded by for over years as I grew up.
Yeah.
I was quite fortunate because these people around me were just even if it was 2 or 3 years older than me. Those 2 or 3 years can make a big difference. And I found that, and I only actually realised that later in life now.
Yeah.
I only recognise it myself now, and I try to then give a bit of that back to students if I can, and that relatability.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah. Because for them, like, if it's going for being an entrepreneur or going for a graduate program or just going for a graduate job in general, it's so stressful. Yeah. Because I always say this, unless you're going to be the CEO or unless you're going to be the CFO or board of directors or whatever it may be, I hope you do.
Yeah.
Remember me if you do. It's one of them where this is probably going to be your hardest interview of your life.
Yeah.
Because the program is, you can do ones that are 3, 4, 5, some are 6 months to get to the final assessment center and get the job. That's a lot whilst you're still in your final year.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take on. Or even a placement. That's a year out. You come back and you don't know anyone anymore. Yeah. Your friends have carried on. That's a big deal at a young age, especially if you've moved to a university and moved a city. A lot happens in the space of 2 or 3 years. And sometimes burnout and things like that and surroundings come from not stress of work,
Yeah.
but actually just a bit of panic and fear.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're burnt out, even though you might not have even done that much.
Yeah.
You just, all your surroundings, everything that's going on is chaotic. So I always try and make that reality to our students that, yes, it could be 6 months, but trust me, it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
You've just got to plan it. Try and be as scheduled as you can. Try and plan it. That's why I say don't apply for 50 things, because if you do, you'll get bored of your own life.
I mean, when I had 10 assessment centers to do in 2 or 3 days, it's mind numbing, and you can't put your best. You can't be yourself best self forward. You can't try and differentiate. You want to try and prepare, and you just can't. So
and that's the thing. And like I say, it comes across all age brackets.
Yeah.
When I managed a recruitment office, we had a point where it was during COVID. We nailed an NHS contract. We would get to points where we had to hire 80 people in 48 hours to join the NHS.
Yeah.
That could come through on a Friday.
Yeah.
That's another level of burnout.
Yes.
That happened really quick.
Yeah.
But you learn a lot from that. And I left that side of the industry because of that reason.
Yeah.
I have a lot of time for people that stay in it a long time, because I think it's pretty brutal. But it's things like that. So there's loads of different types of burnout, is my point.
Yeah.
My burnout came from being too nice and trying to be pleasant to everyone and be friends with everyone. Yeah, you can't. You can be. I'm still guilty of it.
Yeah.
It will happen.
Yeah.
And you can sometimes actually say things just to be thinking it's what they want to hear. So actually, your burnout causes your work to deteriorate, because you've just agreed to something. Or you said, yeah, let's do that. Or you actually might panic. I have students that panic and tell me. I can hear their voice, and I can see in their face. They say something to me. They don't mean it.
Yeah.
But they think it's what I want to hear. That just comes from that kind of panic scenario. And that I learned from that, and that type of burnout. You had the recruitment in general. That was just fast burnout. That was just, right, we have to try and get the job done. This is what it is, especially during COVID. Learned a lot from that. Wouldn't go back to that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've got so much time for people still in that. To the point now where the burnout's different.
Yeah.
Because it kind of gradually comes to you rather than a quick kind of thing. Yeah. And it comes in different ways. So that's why I make sure my surroundings are good. I think it's good to have a good friendship base as well.
Yeah.
Even though I mentioned those people, I try to keep a good friendship base. So, for example, one of my friends, Adam, he works in celebrity travel. My other friend is a global business developer for Siemens. They all actually live around here.
Yeah.
And we have a core group, and we try and do things together, and we just almost not have a moan, but it takes our mind off it.
Yeah.
And we have those, and we try to meet up if it's just for a coffee. So it's all around who's around you and your surroundings, and family is a big one. I'm lucky to have a really good family for that. And that can go under the radar sometimes. They tend to be the first ones you don't be grateful for.
Yeah.
So all those things combined will get you through burnout. Hopefully.
Now, one of the things that I was thinking, and you haven't actually mentioned, is where social media kind of comes into burnout. Does it increase burnout? I mean, we've just spoken about friendship groups and friends being the solution to helping us manage burnout, and at whatever stage burnout's in, for, like you said, how it changes. What do you think of social media then with burnout? Do you think, because obviously you've got a big social following, you use social media?
I love social media.
Yeah.
And I hate social media.
Yeah. Like Marmite.
100%.
Yeah.
Because it has amazing attributes, and we're all aware it has bad parts to play in our lives, dangerous aspects in general. What I would say, talking it from a recruitment standpoint, I use my social media for everything.
Yeah.
And things like Instagram and TikTok and X, and we all use it, they have more negatives than, say, like a LinkedIn. I'm really big on LinkedIn, and before I don't work for LinkedIn. I'm not here to promote it.
You're going to their office.
I am going to their office. Yeah, I'm going to their office. That's not for any selfish. That's for a good cause. There's not many negative connotations to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So that's why I try and get that across to our students. It's around linking back to that strike rate. So social media, I didn't have LinkedIn when I was at university, or it was in its infancy, shall I say. You guys have something right there.
Yeah.
The accessibility to directors, HR directors, recruitment teams, it's there at a click of a button. It's on your phone.
Yeah.
So before I look at the negatives of everything else and how I got into social media, I want to highlight the fact of how important LinkedIn is in what you do now.
Yeah.
We don't want you applying, like I said, for 40 things.
Yeah.
Focus on maybe 10. Then go onto LinkedIn, add those people from those companies, reach out to them. This is where the personality comes in.
Yeah.
We know AI using the software to go through your CVs and applications. How can you change that? There's one main thing you can control. You can reach out to people via LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Don't be a sales pitch. We all get there and we know how that is on LinkedIn. We hate it. It's a nightmare. But what I would say is if you go for a marketing company, just for example, you're really keen, you apply for the graduate program or graduate level job, reach out and say, hey, look, I've just gone for your graduate program. I've read the job spec. I really like it. But actually, I would like a little bit more information around it.
Yeah.
Are you free for a 10-minute chat online if it's a national company, or if it's regional, can we grab a coffee?
Yeah.
What I say to our students, 9 times out of 10, they'll accept your ad and they will find time for you.
Yeah.
It's about flipping it on its head with social media. LinkedIn, they're on there and advertising for you.
Yeah.
They need you. You need to think, okay, so they might be a HR director, but in 5 years' time, that distance might be very different, but much be close to that position, and they might need me.
Yeah.
You've got to switch it, and that's how I would say use social media in terms of a LinkedIn and a recruitment standpoint. And there's so many positives to it, so many positives. We got some of our biggest clients and companies out of it.
Yeah.
Amazon got hold of us, Red Bull, Next, Fraser's Group Boots. These type of companies reached out to us via LinkedIn. And that was just personal branding. I think personal branding is so key, so key. You might work for a company, you might work for yourself. It doesn't matter what it is. You need to have that personal brand and that constant personal brand. Not be good at it for 2 months and then have 2 months off and then come back to it, because you're not showing anyone consistency. I always say it a bit tongue in cheek, but I call it have no shame.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is you wouldn't sit on Instagram and follow 1,000 people.
No.
I hope not.
No, I wouldn't.
And you wouldn't follow 1,000 people. Well, I hope not anyway. But what you can do on LinkedIn is add 100 people on a Monday morning and no one will bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
They'll be used to it and they'll accept.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by have no shame. You have a real opportunity. I do that even now. First thing I do on a Monday morning, apologies to those people I do it to. I add 100 people every Monday morning.
Yeah.
First thing I do when I come into work. And then naturally you get the algorithms and then more people start to add you or follow you.
Yeah.
So I tend to gain 150 to 200 a week.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm doing anything with them, but I'm on their phones. I'm on their phone. People always still see LinkedIn as someone sat at a laptop in an office, and you will get that. But it's about someone walking to get a coffee or walking to grab a lunch. You come up on their phone.
Yeah.
Someone in marketing jokingly said to me in a bar about 3 months ago, "Oh my God, I'm sick of seeing." I get an email from LinkedIn, and you're top of it.
Yeah.
And I said, that's the biggest compliment you could pay me.
Yeah.
And he's a nice guy, and it has had a few drinks, so it was funny. And that's always, sometimes it's best to get your critique in a bar.
Yeah.
But that was interesting to hear because I really care about the algorithms.
Yeah.
Sometimes I post, and it's about not changing that voice with my posts.
No.
What I tend to find with people is they will go onto Instagram, go onto X, go onto TikTok. Yes, you can't be fully like that. I get that. Then they'll go back onto LinkedIn and sound a completely different person.
Yeah.
They will look at your LinkedIn, say like a company looks at your LinkedIn, and then you have an interview and you sound nothing like your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They will automatically get their back up a little bit.
Do you think that's AI, like people using AI to write their LinkedIn posts?
I think there's an element of that, but this has been happening for a number of years. I think people are convinced they have to sound a certain way. And yeah, you get it where you thank people and you do these things, and it's part and parcel of LinkedIn. I get that. But I try and use my personality on what I do, whether that's when I did social media for Love Island or like recently for I'm a Celeb.
Yeah.
I don't change how I think. I will think the same way when I post on LinkedIn for engagement. It makes you sound a little menacing, but there's structure to it, and that's
authenticity.
And that's my point. I'm not going to change, and I think I want our students or people in general, whatever age, to do that. The thing with it as well is it's to make sure not every post is about work. I think that's another misconception, that you have to sound like you're always doing something in work or you're doing that. I did one not long ago. about the train crossing here in Lincoln.
I did like that one. I like that one.
I did that for one reason. I wanted people to comment and tell me there was a bridge.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't noticed the bridge for the last how many years.
I think I commented and said that, and you had loads of people saying it.
Yeah, but that's what I wanted. I wanted the people to do it so it gained views in the algorithms. And it got like, 700 likes or something like that, 20,000 impressions. Everyone telling me there's a bridge. Yeah, I work at the uni. But there's three-pronged attacks to it. I knew it would get to academics.
Yeah.
Because they get the bane like the rest of us.
Students
and I
as
work
well.
closely with academics.
Yeah.
I like to have that relationship. Gets the students,
Yeah.
because we get that. And actually you get to the locals.
Yeah.
Because they have it both sides. So you're hitting target areas, and that's what I did it for. And then the next post, when your views were up, was about when we ran a careers event, a careers fair. So you've got that engagement.
Yeah.
So it's about knowing your follow-up and where you're going to go with it. And that's what I try and do. And that's what I bring across from social media. Look, back in the day, I laugh, but I'm probably a bit annoyed deep down because I was doing stuff on like when it was Twitter back in the day, and you was hitting like thousands of likes and millions of views.
Yeah.
But no one was paying me for it.
Yeah.
This TikTok generation, I'm jealous of you all.
Yeah.
But I've now carried that on and incorporated into my working world, and that's what I want our students to do. We have so many students that are amazing at social media.
Yeah.
We have brand ambassadors for fashion labels here. And,
Yeah.
so many different areas that they get paid to do it during their degree.
Yeah.
Outside of here, that's a skill, that's a talent. We need to show that on LinkedIn, show businesses that, show big brands. And for me, that's the positive. Negative, I don't want to go too deep into it.
Well, I've got something here on the negativity, which I think this is so personal. This is me. This is the fact that I cannot, because I'm not a creator. You know, there's a few selfies from years ago. Me and my friends all hugging each other.
We all hate them.
Yeah, but I'm not a creator. I hear you when you say, you know, and be shameless and stuff. But I think the reason why I'm not a creator is because I'm a consumer.
Yeah.
And I think because so many of us are trapped in consumption, and I speak to my friends and how we always laugh, but we shouldn't be laughing. We should be scared at the time we're losing to consuming things that we don't remember, we don't even really want to consume. But it's a bit of a paradoxical thing, because to create means we must have consumers, and to consume means we must create. But I think some of the negatives that I find is balancing it. And you've said all the positives, and you've said everything that makes me want to. God, I'm gonna start posting it on LinkedIn because I've slacked a bit recently. But how do you balance those negatives, those comparing yourself? Like, I find that Instagram, many people compare themselves how they look or what they have. And I think actually with LinkedIn, I'm guilty of comparing myself to people who have this mega internship at this big bank or this, you know, stupidly sexy consulting firm. And I kind of compare myself.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad thing to compare. I think there's an element that it's good to compare yourself to people. People always try and turn that into a negative connotation, and you get the phrase of only compare yourself a year before and all this kind of stuff. It's not a bad thing to sometimes look at that. I do it now.
Yeah.
It happens. It's just part and parcel of life. It won't change.
Almost like a healthy competition.
That comparison was there before social media.
Yeah.
So that's not going to change. That was already there. What I would say is about that consumer side, and we're all guilty of it. And I always relate it to I tell people, can you watch a film without picking up your phone?
And I'll pick my phone in podcast.
Could be an hour-and-a-half film. You probably pick up your phone 4, 5, 6 times, scroll, put it back down. Yeah. Don't look at anything, nothing productive. It's almost this fear of missing out is created in our brains. Hence the consumerism.
Yeah.
And that is a dangerous side of it. And I have a younger sister, and they're even bigger on social media with it. And I do have a natural worry for that.
Yeah.
But it's how we can only counteract certain elements of things. We can't fully control that. So what I would say in terms of the comparisons, make sure if you're going to those comparisons, they're there to influence you or inspire you in some way. You could see one that's amazing. Well, actually, they've gone into that business. How can I use that to my benefit now? Instead of that bringing me down and having that natural kind of, don't hate them, but natural jealousy.
Yeah.
Everyone gets natural jealousy. It changed into, right, okay, so I know they hire.
Yeah.
I know they go into our graduates. I know they go into this. Go onto their profile, see who they're connected with at that company, add the exact same people,
Yeah.
and reach out to them and say, I've noticed so-and-so's on my newsfeed is in your business now. I would love to know more details on when the next program's opening up,
Yeah.
what we can do. So it's about flipping it again. So you have those negatives. We can't control some of the external with the TikTok, and we can only do so much with that. But in terms of the other stuff that we're here today, you can still control that. I'm quite honest about this.
Yeah.
I went through a little phase when I was in recruitment. I was looking to leave that recruitment management position, and I looked at a few of my friends. Didn't have to be close friends, but like just people I need looking to get.
Yeah.
You seem further along than me here. Why? Why are you further along? And then when I speak to these people, there's not actually a why.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's just how life's sort of falling for
Yeah.
them, and they put hard work in, and there's always an element of luck. But I sat there and I went, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Actually, that is true. Why am I comparing? Why am I getting annoyed? Why am I just not doing something about it? I should look at these people and go, I want to be part of it.
Yeah.
What can we do? So it's just trying to change that negativity, and especially from that recruitment standpoint. There's so many employers out there.
Yeah.
TikTok's actually a really interesting one it's called edutainment. So if you want to do anything positive on TikTok instead of scrolling, search that. You can see areas that businesses are using a lot more. Recruitment's massive on it now.
Yeah.
They're using it. We want to use it. We just had 2 content creators into our team to use it. I interviewed 3 weeks ago for this.
Yeah.
For that reason. So that, once again, we're trying to change the message of you're just scrolling. What can we make it more informational? Can we make it more inspiring, influential in a good way, rather than influential in a bad way? So yes, those negatives are there, but it's about how we judge those negatives and how we get around them.
Do you want to know what you remind me of, Brad?
Yeah.
You remind me.
This better be nice.
I think so. Of Stoicism. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And the things that you've said today about recruitment and the recruitment process and specifically on social media and how there's negatives but flipping it.
Yeah.
And that flip isn't actually external.
Yeah.
All that flip is internal. And I think the idea here and things we've spoken about is that we cannot change our external environment. We can't change luck or timing or the rejection emails, but we can change how we go about it, how we flip it, how we turn a rejection into a time of learning, how we turn social media into a time of overconsumption into a time of consumption of the right things, of things that level us up. So that's what you remind me of.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think it is sometimes just writing down the things you can change.
Yeah.
What can you control? There's always going to be things that annoy you that you can't control. I get it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It happens. I'm in a people business. So because I'm in that business, people are going to come to me sometimes, and it might not be the answer I want.
Yeah.
Trust me, sometimes employers, it might take me 6 months to get the right response from them.
Yeah.
It can vary. You can have someone that wants to work with you really quickly, and things are great. Amazon gave me 10 minutes of their time.
Yeah.
So I had to change my approach. I could control that 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Anything after that, gone. But then what can I control to follow up with that 10 minutes? So that's the mindset of it. And it can be scary thinking, oh my God, you've got 10 minutes. You lose your trail of thought and you change how you work again.
Yeah.
You've got to stick to the same message. Consistency is a big thing, especially in recruitment. Don't change who you are because so-and-so said they can have this amount of time. So-and-so, this is their process.
Yeah.
You've got to stick to that kind of your authenticity, your morals, but then it's also finding that balance. So I find it really interesting, the generational thing.
Yeah.
It's a really, really big thing for me. I spoke to some people around the city on it. I won't mention names because I've not asked them if they're happy for that.
Yeah.
He noticed that he needed to bring in generational training for the graduates coming through, and he was a CEO.
Yeah.
Because he noticed he wasn't thinking enough like them, and they weren't thinking enough like him. So that's what I mean by that. Where can we find those levels of control? He went, what can I control?
Yeah.
Instead of me thinking, oh my God, they've got their AirPods in, and they're not doing this, and they've got hoodies on, and they're not dressed in a nice suit. He went, okay, I am like that. That's my generation. I need to bring it down a bit and meet them in the level. I can control that bit.
Yeah.
But then he's learning them and teaching them, which we try to get across, that yes, you should have your principles and yes, have those morals, but where can you adapt then to meet in the middle? It shouldn't go either way too far. And that would probably be one of my key learnings in general that's coming through. And I think we're going to start to see a big shift in that in the next sort of 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
I think generational training will come in more businesses, especially sort of national ones. I hope it does, actually.
Yeah.
I'm really keen on sort of promoting that.
Yeah. I mean, you spoke about teachings and learnings, and this is the final question.
No,
I want to know, from you can pick any mistake,
Yeah.
any time that you really look back and go, not too happy with that.
Yeah.
And I want you to save me from making that mistake. Teach me a lesson about how I can learn that mistake from you.
Yeah. Wow. Where do I start? Well, have we got another hour? No. Yeah. There's quite a few here. It's interesting because I didn't notice, and I'm quite open about this, I didn't notice those mistakes early enough.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by the naivety.
Mm.
I probably, when I was in the events, gave not enough attention to the business, more attention to pleasing.
Yeah.
That let me down. And I probably need to apologise to the likes of Ben and Andy for that. Thankfully, they still like me. That was a key thing for me later in life, that I just went, hang on a minute, what am I doing?
Yeah.
How much is this person going to change my life by me saying, yeah, I'll do everything for you.
Yeah.
Let's do this, let's do that. And almost like get ahead of yourself and create projects and do these things. And everything sounds amazing in theory. You do about 25% of it.
Yeah.
Because it's impossible to do it all, because you're saying yes to 50 people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, you're at an age now where you have that level of fear, but you're quite switched on. So I'll give you that.
Thank you.
You're more switched on than I was at 20. What I would say is, now you need to sit, and the lesson needs to be, right, where do I want to go? What direction do I want to go in? Where do my passions lie? I think passion's a big one. That's what I learned from Dummy. Dummy, he had that passion in music from a very young age when I met him. Where do I sit on that, and where do I want to take it? Instead of it being, right, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do that. You might not want to do a graduate program. Don't do it. Don't just do it because everyone else is doing it. Don't please them or think, oh my God, I'm pressured into do that. If you want to be an entrepreneur, go and give that a go.
Yeah.
Or make sure you have the people around you can get mentorship and guidance off. Take on all that advice as much as you can. I'm 32. I'm knocking on. The wrinkles will show it. But you should listen to people around you that will give you that guidance. I probably didn't listen enough at your age, and my parents will probably laugh at this. I didn't sort of acknowledge. I thought I was doing well.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing things right. You're not doing things right.
Yeah.
The reason you're not doing things right is you can be innovative and you bring other things to the party that they don't have before, but they have so much wealth of experience that your naivety is telling you you're doing it right, and you're kind of brushing it off a little bit. No, we're doing it my way. We're doing it this. It doesn't go down the right path. It doesn't take you in the right way. Yes, you can go back to them and have that strength to say, actually, no, I think we should do it this way. But it's about the tone of voice, the message, how you do that, rather than think I'm going to do it my way. That's the be all and end all. I only noticed that, I'm going to be honest, about 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It was late.
Yeah.
It was late. But I think that's because that went into different areas and different industries after that.
Yeah.
And you just get older and you recognize that and you see it in other people. So that would be my lesson is take on as much advice as you can. Listen to them. Doesn't mean you have to take it all on.
Yeah.
But take on what you think is constructive. And I say that to everyone. I say that to any student I meet. I even did it when we did it in recruitment.
Yeah.
That's when I kind of had that realization. Because trust me, there could be a 40-year-old telling me they know everything because they've had a career in this area for 20 years. But it doesn't mean you know your next 20 years. You're shifting into something else. It's completely different. Take things on board. Listen to it. I think you'll be okay then. I know that sounds a little vague, and it is a little bit cliche. But it's the best advice you can give is just listen to people around you. I know I'm doing all the talking now, but you can get into a scenario where you feel you're just talking to a room or you're doing all the talking. Step back, listen to it. Listen to those people that maybe 10 years older than you, 15 years older than you. Even if it's 5 years.
Yeah.
We have really successful people in the city that have gone on to do amazing things that are around my age.
Yeah.
take it in and listen to it, learn from it, and then hopefully it might spark something in you. So if you're not quite sure where to go or what to do, those bits of advice and mentorship might actually spark a passion in you that you didn't recognize.
Yeah.
Or give you an idea of where to go, an initial starting point. That'd be my advice.
Well, brilliant. Well, it was absolutely amazing talking today, and this was the
pleasure.
first episode of my podcast, and I've got a little quote
Yep.
to end off the episode, and it's about me doing this. It's about
Yep.
me starting this podcast. It's about me reaching out to you, and I had a lot of fear.
Yeah.
Which I've known you for years now, and we've got a great working relationship. But I had actually a bit of fear of reaching out and saying, "Oh, I want to do this. You know, will you do it with me?" But this quote was something that really helped me push me past this. And the quote goes, "You're better off starting imperfectly
Yep.
than being paralyzed by the hope or delusion of perfection." You know, I haven't got a name for my podcast. I haven't got things perfect, and I before let that stop me from doing things. And there's so many things actually I haven't done because I thought I had to be perfect. And so this episode is about starting imperfectly.
Exactly.
It's about learning, and you've been an absolutely amazing guest that I've learned so much from.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And what I would just end on that's a great quote, but you won't be perfect in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. I'm imperfect now in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And everyone is. That's how it is. You just constantly learn as long as you're open to learning. But yeah, I really appreciate your time.
Oh. Is that how we end it?
Yeah, you can say at the end something like subscribe, share, something.
Oh, yes.
You do whatever you want to do there.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you for listening today. It was an incredible conversation. And if you're interested in more of these conversations or seeing Brad back on the podcast, please drop a comment.
One comment. Instead of looking on Brad, can you look in the camera?
Yes. Yes.
The same?
So I thought that was an amazing conversation today. Really enjoyed what we spoke about and some of the key learnings about always learning, being open to learn, using your supportive network around you. And I'm going to redo that again because I'm not talking about what I want to say.
Yeah, that's all good.
Just wrapping up the video, aren't I? Just saying, okay. That was great. That was my first experience podcasting. I really enjoyed it. And if you enjoyed it just as much as I did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about next or what you didn't like. Or if you want to see Brad again. Thanks.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Cool. So, boy.
Yeah, that was great. How long was that?